Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out some incredibly cool battles in the Open Great League featuring the triple nukes only team. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now the team consists of Mew on the lead, running Wild Charge and Overheat, with Braviary and Staraptor in the back, both running Close Combat and Brave Bird. So every charge move on this team deals a massive amount of damage, but also self-debuffs as well. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the triple nukes only team in action in the Great League. Hopping to the first match, letting Mew into Trevenant. Not a bad matchup by any means, but with two much stronger answers in the back, definitely going to want to switch out. In comes Braviary. Braviary will be met with Bastiodon. These smackdowns dealing a ton of damage, but Braviary can return the favor. Double super effective close combat, big damage onto the Bastiodon. Bastiodon is barely able to farm down. Bastiodon very low on HP, but they do leave with a move loaded. In comes the Mew. Mew immediate no shield here, as Bastiodon doesn't hit very hard. Stone Edge is able to land. Mew gets the farm down on very low HP and will be able to connect with the Overheat versus the Trevenant. Trevenant respects the Overheat, but now Staraptor has shield advantage, and Staraptor with shield advantage can be incredibly deadly in the endgame. Swampert goes for the Hydro Cannon, immediate shield from Staraptor. Staraptor continuing to farm up, and a beautiful CMP tie there, firing the close combat as the Hydro Cannon is reached. Opponent commits the final shield, and Staraptor is more than happy to do the same. Staraptor can now farm up 5 more wing attacks, and again win CMP over the Swampert. So this way Staraptor leads with as much energy as possible here. Down goes Swampert, in comes Trevenant, but Trevenant has a move. Staraptor's debuffed. Is this going to KO? Seed Bomb from the Trevenant. Staraptor lives on 1 HP, makes the Brave Bird, vanquishes the Trevenant, and secures the win. Picking up a tough lead in the next match, Mew into Swampert. Unfortunately, with this moveset on Mew, Mew doesn't have a lot that it can threaten the Swampert with. Mew is just going to stay in the matchup, farm up a ton of energy as Swampert connects with the Hydro Cannon. Mew continuing to farm, and we see a very nice catch, catching Hydro Cannon number 2 onto Braviary. That's going to deal a ton of damage. Opponent is going to send in Skarmory. Skarmory looking for the farm down. Braviary able to reach a last second close combat. This will hit for some heavy neutral damage. Skarmory tanks the move and gets the farm down. Skarmory does leave with the Sky Attack loaded here, and Skarmory, not wanting that energy to go to waste, goes for the Sky Attack right away. Mew is going to expend a shield. Mew at the back-to-back wild charges, so if the opponent wants to keep this Skarmory alive, they have to double shield. They're just going to let this through. Is the opponent going to be sending in that Swampert, or do we see the third here? Opponent is going to send in Sableye. Sableye going to be met with the Overheat here. Does the opponent respect it? Yes, they do. They respect the Overheat. In comes Staraptor. Staraptor is going to be met with a charge move from Sableye, and we see the final shield being used. Opponent sends in their Swampert. Swampert farming up, and we have Staraptor again forcing the CMP tie. Close combat is going to KO the Swampert. Back in comes Sableye. Sableye continuing to farm. Staraptor going for yet another close combat. Close combat is going to grab the shield. Staraptor able to make yet another close combat here. This close combat gets the Sableye low, and we see a catch onto Mew. No shot. Gets the catch. Staraptor gets the farm down, and that is a good game. Moving into the next match, we've got Mew into another Trevenant. Same game plan as before, farm up some energy on Mew, and then send in Braviary. This time the opponent is going to respond with a Galarian Stunfisk. One Rock Slide is not going to be enough to KO here, so Braviary is going to let that through. Don't get me wrong, that does deal a massive amount of damage, but Braviary able to tank it and return fire with Close Combat. Close Combat nearly able to KO. The Air Slash goes through, so Braviary can shield up and actually win switch advantage here. Braviary leaves with a Close Combat loaded, tried to make it to the Brave Bird, but dies with the move. That's unfortunate. Bad news for the Trevenant, however. There's a second normal flyer in the back. Opponent is going to send in their Azumarill, and Staraptor is going to fire off the Brave Bird. Brave Bird, odds are probably getting a shield from the Azu, and then in comes Mew. Mew, decision time here. Do you expend the final shield? No, lets it through, and it's the Ice Beam. Mew farming up a ton of energy here, able to make it to the back-to-back Wild Charges to apply a lot of pressure onto Azu. Wild Charge gets the shield. Mew able to reach Wild Charge number 2, throwing on good timing as well. That Wild Charge gets the Azu low. Back in comes Staraptor. Staraptor going to look to try and farm down here and then outpace that Trevenant to a move. In comes the Trevenant. Trevenant makes it to a move. Can Staraptor survive a Seed Bomb here? Seed Bomb KO Staraptor, and that's game over. Hopping into the next match, setting Mew into Talonflame. This is a matchup where potentially having Surf on Mew could come in handy, but with this moveset, there's absolutely no baits allowed. Speaking of baits, Mew calls one, and it's the Flame Charge. What a call. Mew farming up and going straight for the Wild Charge here. This will apply a lot of pressure onto the opponent. Talonflame commits the shield. Aggressive switch into Braviary, and the opponent is going to stay in with Talonflame and force a shield. They go for the Flame Charge. Braviary farming up, makes it to the close combat. This is resisted, but it will KO if they let it through, which they do. Opponent is now going to be sending in their Galarian Stunfisk. Stunfisk is able to outpace the Braviary, and we see the immediate no shield. Braviary has done its job, and Mew is not far off an overheat. Going to wait the clock here. Back in comes Mew, looking for the overheat. Opponent sends in Trevenant. Oh my goodness, does the Trevenant respect Mew? Trevenant commits the shield. That's very unfortunate, but again, this sets up Staraptor with a shield advantage. Staraptor is going to let the first move through. Trevenant goes for the Seed Bomb. That honestly still does quite a bit of resisted damage. Decision time here. We do see the final shield being committed by Staraptor. Staraptor continuing to farm. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Great lead in the next match, Mew into Medicham. This is fantastic, as honestly the entire team has a lot of play against Medicham. Medicham actually staying in the matchup for a bit before the opponent is going to send in a Beedrill save switch. This should be the X-Scissor. X-Scissor will hit for some solid super effective damage, but now Beedrill is trapped up against Braviary, and these air slashes are tearing through the Beedrill. Beedrill going for another charge move. That's not going to do a lot of damage. Braviary gets the farm down and leaves with a bunch of energy. Opponent can send back in the Medicham, but Medicham is going to have to give up a shield to the Brave Bird. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to send in the Medicham. Medicham being met with the Brave Bird, and Medicham will commit the shield and get the farm down. Mew is very low, but Mew does have a lot of energy. Mew is going to commit the shield. Medicham goes for the charge move here at the double Wild Charges, but we see a beautiful catch, catching that Wild Charge onto Diggersby, where it's double resisted. In comes Staraptor. Staraptor, being a flying type, does have a pretty nice matchup against Diggersby as long as they're not running Hyper Beam, and they are not, as the opponent goes for the Earthquake there. Earthquake is double resisted, but is a much more powerful move than Fire Punch. Firing off this close combat is going to KO. Back in comes the Medicham, going for the Brave Bird here. This is going to be close. Brave Bird is going to grab a shield. I think the question is, can Mew make it to the overheat? Mew gets to the overheat. Let's see. This is a powerful move, but Medicham is very tanky. It KOs, and that is a good game. Moving into set number 2, picking up a pretty decent lead, Mew into Skarmory. Mew is able to outpace in this matchup. Opponent is going to save switch into a Shadow Drapion. Before Drapion makes it to the crunch, Mew makes it to the Wild Charge. Wild Charge is going to land, and now in comes Braviary. Braviary looking for the farm down. Drapion on very low HP is going to start firing off their charge moves. Crunch deals a ton of damage. Drapion gets farmed down, and they don't make it to a second crunch. That is quite nice, as this way Braviary does not have to shield. Opponent sends in Frostlass. Braviary not quite able to make it to the Brave Bird. Close combat onto the Frostlass, is going to get a shield as Frostlass gets the farm down. And now I think you have to send in the Mew here. Mew at the very least can apply some fast move pressure with Shadow Claw, but Mew is going to have to shield, as even an Avalanche would do a ton of damage here. Frostlass is going to fire off the Avalanche. Mew continuing to farm up. Mew going for the Wild Charge. Decision time for the Frostlass. Is this where you expend that shield? And it is. They're going to expend the final shield on the Frostlass. Mew is going to commit the shield. Can Mew get the farm down here? This is going to be very close. Opponent gives up switch. They send in Skarmory. Skarmory not able to get to a move as Mew reaches the back-to-back wild charges. Wild charge gets the Skarmory low, aggressive switch into Staraptor, and Staraptor will be able to soak this energy here. They fire off the Sky Attack, that deals a ton of damage. Staraptor gets the farm down, opponent sends back in Frostlass, but Frostlass will be met with the close combat. This is resisted damage, but it still KOs and gets the win. Hopping into the next match, leading Mew into Galarian Stunfisk. This matchup is entirely reliant on whether the opponent lets that overheat land. Mew farming up, and Mew is going to force the CMP tie as Stunfisk reaches the Earthquake. Overheat does get shielded by that Stunfisk. You absolutely hate to see it. Opponents definitely respecting the nuke potential of Mew in these battles. Mew continues to farm. Stunfisk has quite a bit of energy here. Mew lets it through. It is just going to be the Rock Slide. Mew continues to farm, but another Rock Slide is reached. Mew has so much energy, so the final shield is going to be used. Now we're going to see a save switch into Braviary. Stunfisk is going to be able to outpace here. As we've seen, Rock Slide does not KO, but it will get Braviary into the red health. Braviary able to survive and make it to the close combat. This will easily KO. Does the opponent use the final shield? They do not, and down goes Stunfisk. Opponent is going to send in a Trevenant here, so it appears they are very weak to flying types in the back, and now you can just wait your timer, send in the Staraptor, and attempt to go for an aggressive wing attack farm down. Staraptor continues to farm. Trevenant does have quite a bit of energy here, but all of their moves are either single or double resisted. Trevenant able to reach one final move. This is going to be close. Can Staraptor survive? Staraptor able to hang on. In the back, it's Medicham, and this game looks winnable. Brave Bird should be grabbing a shield, and now it's all up to Mew. Mew able to make it to the back-to-back wild charges. Mew going for the wild charge onto the Medicham, and now going for the overheat as well. You just can't shield all the nuke moves from this team, as down goes Medicham. Moving into the next match, leading Mew into yet another Trevenant. As before, Mew is going to farm up a few Shadow Claws, save switch into Braviary, but this time able to catch a Seed Bomb on the switch. Seed Bomb, of course, is going to be resisted. Opponent will respond with Frostlass. These Powder Snows absolutely shredding through Braviary. Decision time. The Avalanche was reached. Braviary commits the shield. Braviary going for the close combat. Doesn't quite have the Brave Bird here. Does the opponent know Braviary counts? They do not, as they commit the shield to get the farm down. Mew has energy. Mew is going to go for the wild charge. Decision time for the Frostlass. Frostlass does have some energy here. Are they willing to shield? Yes, they are. Frostlass gives up the final shield, and so will Mew. I don't think Mew can quite farm down here. Opponent went for a Shadow Ball. Definitely would have been Avalanche range, but Mew taking no chances. Going for the wild charge. Wild charge is going to KO. Looking for the immediate switch into Staraptor. Trevenant farming up energy here, but Trevenant just cannot do much in this matchup. Trevenant goes for the Shadow Ball. Staraptor able to tank it. In the back, it's Noctowl. Honestly, I think may have needed to go for the double close combat there, as Brave Bird is not quite gonna KO. Opponent over farms and allows Staraptor to make the close combat. That is massive. Close combat KOs. Trevenant gets the farm down, but Trevenant has no energy, and Mew clutches the win. Hopping into the final match, 4-0 in this set, looking for the 5-0 with nukes only. Leading Mew into Galarian Weezing, so we've got some spice from the opponent as well. Opponent did build up to a play rough, but a brutal swing would definitely hurt here. Commits the shield, I believe that was the play rough, and now Mew is going to return fire with the wild charge. Wild charge is going to be able to connect. Aggressive switch into Braviary, and Braviary able to get the snipe, but bad news for Braviary, as opponent is going to send in Lantern. Lantern will be met with the close combat here from the Braviary. Close combat will do some heavy neutral damage. Lantern going for a charge move. At this point, your debuffs, you just have to let this go. Opponent goes for the Thunderbolt, and that is massive overkill on the Braviary. Going to fully wait the timer here. Send in Mew. Mew farming up quite a bit of energy here. Mew winning CMP over the Lantern. Lantern does have a shield advantage, and they will commit the shield. That's a bit unfortunate. Mew lets this through. Can Mew tank a Surf after being debuffed? Yes, it can. Mew barely able to hang on and reach that second wild charge. Wild charge is going to KO. Now it's all up to Staraptor in the back. The opponent has a Talonflame, and this is looking a bit scary as Talonflame just deals so much damage to the Glassy Staraptor. Talonflame commits the shield. Opponent went for the Brave Bird, and oh my goodness, I think that's going to cost them. Close combat, gets the shield, able to reach close combat number 2. That's going to be KOing the Talonflame, and that is a good game. All in all, these battles were a ton of fun to watch, as we just saw nuke move after nuke move. Sure, the opponent shielded some, but at a certain point, they just didn't have enough shields for the onslaught of nuke moves, and the team managed some good results. As you saw, they were able to end on a 5-0. Now, as for viability in terms of long-term climbing with a nukes-only strategy, it's high risk, high reward. So some battles, it can pay off, but in others, sometimes having those consistent bait moves can definitely come in clutch. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.